Oh, pleased to meet you. All right.
Oh,
thanks. You don't have to worry about the booch.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Our little Staffy's lovely, but he's very excitable, and you probably don't want him jumping all over you.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's all he would do, but you could probably...
Thanks. Do you want a coffee? I'm great, thanks, mate. What kind of coffee that's a... No, I've got a bigger version of a Staffy. I've got a Dr. Bordeaux.
So you're more than used to it, but it's probably not really fair. So
We're not playing with him.
Are you sure you don't want tea?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay.
Can I have one, G?
Yes, I've got just what I was
Thank you. Sorry. Let's get rid of all that. Good. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. I got hold of Giles after we'd spoken, and explained to him the situation, and he said, "Oh yeah, shouldn't you know?" And unfortunately, I have a bit of a different view of journalists than maybe other people. And he said, "Oh yeah, shouldn't be a problem. I'll just go run it by our legal chaps, and I'll get back to you in about half an hour." Of course, didn't get back to us at all, and I phoned him up yesterday just before I spoke to you, and he said, "No, I'm sorry, I'll run it past them, and there's absolutely no way we'll give you anything." I said, and I spoke to Ben. I said, by all means, please ring him. And you know, said, but I spoke to Ben, and you know, he's more than willing for you to use it. And he's under the impression that you've handed the names on to you, Tree. Yeah. And I know that you haven't. Yeah, well, that's not going to change. Hence the phone call back.
Well, you can't not have what they've had. I mean, that's you know what I mean. You know, what I'm trying to do is trying to protect myself as much as possible, because you know, if I could have got you to get them from them, because they said, look, the deal was with them basically was that I'll do an interview with you and I'll tell you what I know. I know they're not going to pick the names, but they pass it on to you, Trey. In fact, if then you want to come and speak to me, then you can do that and all that kind of stuff. So that's where I was. So yeah, so I'm trying to protect myself as much as possible because this is.
It's I mean, I can fully.
But I can't not have the information that they've got, not with you guys, because that would seem ridiculous. So you know,
I mean, the way that we are working, the way that we will work. Whatever you give us today, we're not going to. I said this to you on the phone. We're not going to blow you out. We're not going to compromise you. We're not going to be approaching people and saying, "Oh, Ben's told us this. What have you got to say about that?" Yeah, that's not how we do things. Sure. You know, if by the time we've gone away and we've developed it from our point of view, if it's worthy of further action in that we could possibly do something with it, then we would we would just approach that person effectively blindly and say, look, it's come to our attention that maybe.
I don't mind people knowing. Really, that's not. I mean, I'd rather not. But I'm not bothered. You know, you go to anyone I'm going to tell you about in a minute, and you can say, fellows, that's fine. I mean, that's they know what they did. They know who I am and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure they're probably panicking anyway because that was the probably from the articles and stuff. I mean, they all know who they are and stuff like that. So no, I get it. If my problem is this, and it's only a small problem really, I suppose. It's me standing up against someone rich and famous saying, my word against yours. If there's 4 other people, I'm the 5th guy, or I'm the 3rd guy. If you've got other people there, I'm quite happy then to go and say, yes, absolutely, I'll be, But I don't think my testimony on its own, regardless of what it is going to take them down. Because I think if they were a normal person in society, absolutely, there's an even chance. But these people are loved by people, and even now, we were talking earlier, weren't we? This is my wife Julia, by the way.
I introduced myself.
Sorry.
Yeah, you didn't.
Yeah,
we're
about on the way in.
We did.
Bad form, isn't it?
Took care of it, don't worry.
Yeah, it's really bad. But I was saying, about one of the people on my list, and I said, yeah, but I quite like them still, And then she went, what are you talking about? And I'm like,
all the millions that are spent on making everybody out there love XYZ person even works on the people that know better. It's that powerful, and the publicists, the agents, the lawyers.
I know it's something that where we're coming from. Obviously, we've got all the fallout from Savile, and then there's this side of it as well. I mean, one thing. This isn't entirely a matter for you. My advice would be to give it some serious thought. But around the allegations you've made against Ken Clark, if if you want my honest advice, and this is not me sat here as a copper trying to, you know, give us a statement at some point, albeit very vague, for the simple reason you've made the allegation in public. If you've given us a statement, you've then got the protection of being a witness, so that if, just for argument's sake, and I know your view on this, if he was to turn around and do a Lord McAlpine and say, I'm suing you,
well, he won't.
Start, yeah,
he won't.
But for a start, if he can't, whilst there's an ongoing police investigation going.
Okay.
All right. If, for argument's sake, I'm not for one moment suggesting that this would happen, but if, for argument's sake, you were to say get, I don't know, bloody Daily Mail's Tories rag, the Daily Mail to being quite persistent about, you know, have you contacted the police? Have you done it? You've got that kind of protection that you're a witness. It's as simple as that. So if they start doing anything, it's potentially, well, long and short is they won't. As soon as they know you're a witness, they won't, because it's witness tampering, and they don't do that.
Yeah, sure.
So it's just something to maybe give a thought. And I'm not on about a massive, in-depth statement.
Well, it is what it is. I mean, what
yeah,
it
exactly.
is me sitting in an office looking at the guy gropes me out of nowhere. I mean,
the difference, you know, the difference is once it's sort of formally recorded, and I'll be honest with you, I'm the senior investigating officer for this. If you give me a blank statement saying I was working on the Cook report and Ken Clark came into the office and blah blah blah, and he gropes me, well, I'm not going to go and nick him on the back of that. I'm just not. If you were to give me a very, very full and you were totally supportive of a prosecution and I could corroborate it by other means, say for argument's sake, put you both in the same building at the same time for records, then maybe we might get to the stage of me going and arresting him or whatever. But we wouldn't just do it off a weak statement, and by weak I mean it's because we'd have written it rather than what you're saying. But what it does do is it just gives you a degree of protection. I'm not for one moment suggesting anything else anything would happen, but it just gives you a degree of security, if you want. And we're a confidential advice. It's not going
from being in the press.
Well, it depends. I mean, the issue for me is if you look at how Lord McAlpine started suing people, and the vast majority, it doesn't really matter whether there's any truth in it or not.
It's a setup, you know that, right? With McAlpine. You read the
Yeah.
Scallywag articles, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah? No, hold on a minute. But you read the Scallywag articles. Did he sue Scallywag? No. Why not? Right? But what he did in his book, he said, this is how you read that bit, right? You read his book?
Well, no, I haven't read it cover to cover.
Right, okay, so you haven't read it. Right, so in his book, he's telling you how to be a spin doctor master, you know. Here's the dark arts, right? You walk, basically, in front of a car, right? You create sympathy for yourself, right? And then no one can accuse you of doing anything, and you've got public sympathy, and you can make money out of it. That's basically what he said in his book, right? That's basically what the guy's done, right? Ken Clark isn't going to sue me. It's not the same thing as McAlpine. McAlpine's demonstrating to the world how powerful he is, right? Now, whether he's guilty or not guilty, he's neither here nor there really now, because he's got 185 grand from the Beeb, right? He's got 125,000 from ITV. It's a payday for him.
Just about to raise Sally Burko's piggy bank as well, I think. It's going to go for her as well. But I mean, it's just it's something to think about, because it just gives you a level of a blanket of security. Because what I wouldn't want to find is that, say for argument's sake, Ken Clark, for whatever reason, and please don't, you know, I talk very, very loosely here, but don't for one moment, just because somebody's guilty, don't for one moment think they won't come out and say they're innocent and sue you. You know, something. It's not beyond the realm of possibility. It really, really isn't. Because, you know, some people have got more front than Brian.
It's a videotape.
And
he's on video.
Well, if we can find it.
I know who's got it.
Well, be honest with you.
She'll deny it, but she's got it. I'm telling you, because I can prove that she's given me other stuff that she shouldn't have. Right. So she's.
Where would you keep it?
Huh?
Where would you keep it? Because would you get a what?
She lives in the Cotswolds, so it's in a house in the Cotswolds, the same as all the other stuff. She's given me Sylvia Jones was talking about. She's given me stuff on Friedrich Capitici, IRA guy, yeah, worked for MI5. part of the Force Research Unit, yeah? She's given me stuff with Freddie Scappaticci being interviewed in a car by Clive Entwistle, who was the executive producer of the programme. Right? None of this should exist, right? Outside of the programme, right? This is all stuff that the Cook Report basically did for a programme that they ran, and they did a follow-up then some months later. Well, nothing to do with me, but she has this material, right? She's got a guy called John Dignam, who was an MI5 guy, again in the Force Research Unit, who got caught by Freddie Scappaticci, right? Interrogated by Freddie Scappaticci, and then he was found the next day on one of the roads in the in Northern Ireland, I don't know whereabouts he was, with a bullet through his head, right, after this confession. And they basically say on the tape, you're going to die, so tell us your thing. I've got the tape. All from Sylvia Jones, who shouldn't have had that at all. And when I said to her, I'm actually going to use a transcript from that, she threatened to sue me because it was her tape. It's mine, I own it. In other words, it's currency of some kind.
Who's she in the grand sort of scheme of things?
Oh, well, she was the producer of the Cook Report programme that I worked on. Yeah, so, but the point is, anything that happened with anyone famous or anyone well known, she had that. She copied it.
Right.
She's got it. So I know that Jack Mulvern has come out and said from the Times something happened to the Cook Report archive, and everyone's kind of gone, oh well, that's typical of that kind of thing. Because I've said, look, there's a videotape here. Just get the videotape. Now they're saying, oh, we can't find it. It's gone. Whatever it is, right? I'm sure you guys will be able to find it, but Sylvia has it, yeah? And she is being, this woman would eat me alive within a second, wouldn't she? She's a crime correspondent. She takes no hassle. She reports to Whitehall anyway, yeah? And she's quite powerful, right? And she has basically said that, yes, she saw the tape, it exists, right? Well, hold on a minute.
Yeah, she said she saw the tape, she saw you and Ken Clark. She didn't see the grope, but she saw the two of you in the
Clive
grope.
Entwistle
says there's no such
there's
tape.
no such tape. So they at least they haven't got their story straight, or at least they when there was but she'll have it because that's what she has. She has currency on everyone, and that this in a very small way is what it's all about. It's about using people and having currency on them, and I think child abuse and paedophilia in the entertainment industry is the gold standard. I'm absolutely certain of that. And I was on the edge of it. That's what, do you know what I mean? I wasn't in the centre of it. Had I been gay, I think it would have been a completely different story. You know. So I'm happy to tell you what I told Giles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then we'll take it from there. I mean, to be fair, I haven't been impressed with the other guys that came, last week. They were like balls in china shops, right? And I know that, it's a serious thing, but what it made me feel that it was like, you haven't got a clue about the entertainment business, yeah? And so when I looked into your unit, and I kind of went, that's what you do. You look at, these pervs on the internet and all that kind of stuff, and blah, blah, blah,
and
neighbours,
and the parents.
and parents and stuff like that. There was nothing there that said to me, and we delve into the entertainment industry and the high-profile people.
The thing is, we react to what we're told.
Yeah.
We go out and we do proactive operations where we know things are going on. Then we'll go out and actively try to catch people at it and deal with them.
Sure.
But in the absence of being told about anything, and bear in mind, until Seville turned his toes up, and even after that, we now know in retrospect everybody's coming forward and everybody's going, oh my God, how could this have happened? It obviously has been. It's obviously rife, and it's obviously been going on for years, and people have been turning a blind eye to it. And
people are involved.
Yeah,
I'm involved.
We have it, constantly. With there isn't any offence to this, but there's an assumption that as soon as you get a warrant card, you become telepathic, and you can sense what's going on. And the bottom line is, we're only as good as the information we're given, and nobody has come forward in a way that it would be reported. There may well have been historically people that have tried to report this, and I certainly suspect around Savile in particular there has, and you will just get people, it's Jimmy Savile, don't be stupid. We all know he's a bit eccentric, and they've just been dismissed. And I've said, one of the many people that we've spoken to, you go back to the 80s, and if you told one person you were being brave, if you were telling two you're being courageous, and I would suggest the answer from both of them would still be quite dismissive. So why would you carry on making a noise about it when you've been dismissed by a couple of people already? And it's like I make jest of it, but society's changed considerably, and what was. I remember sitting next to my mum when Freddie Mercury died, and my mum saying, "Do you think you were gay?" Well, of course now you never even question that. But at the time, I vividly remember at the time, and society's moved on. So when a kid comes forward now and says, "This has happened," or such and such a body's done this, then I'd like to think, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, people aren't got rid of as easily, but I'd like to think there's more chance that somebody would listen to what they're saying rather than dismiss it out of hand. And I think what's happened, certainly from what you've said and what other people have said to us, is it was rife, and it's almost become an industry standard.
Oh man, it's you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, the thing is, I was trying to say to you, wasn't I, earlier, trying to find a way of describing it, where it's something that looks, it's almost like a lagoon. It looks beautiful to jump into, but you don't see the sign for the crocodiles.
Right. Yeah.
Right, and it's deadly. Yeah, and what you're looking at, from a child actor's point of view, what I went through is rent boys. That's what you are. Yeah. Now I wasn't gay, and I was known as the big flirt. So it's like being the big flirt, and everyone had stupid girls' names for each other. Right, it'd be Leslie and Tracy and this, and that'd be James or John or whatever,
yeah.
Right? So this is how it would go, really. So if you look at sort of major movie stars now, Johnny Depp was a rent boy, yeah. If you look at Tom Cruise was a rent boy. That's how they got into it, and you're looking at me and you're going, but that's a fact, yeah. That's how it happened. I was put up in front of Tom Cruise, right, and he chose the other guy, and he had sex with the other kid in the bedroom, and I was in his suite in the Dorchester, in this country. Yeah? That's how we were used. And we were sent by Sylvia Young, our theatre school. Right? That's what we were sent. Go meet Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
It'd be a great afternoon for you. Right? And she did it all the time.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So, no, I'm not saying about Sylvia, right? But when you start looking at this from that perspective anyway, you start looking at it and going, hold on a minute, was I sent? Or was it a nice thing to do? Because they had sex with the other guy there. I didn't do anything, I stayed in the room, but he told me what went on quite vividly.
You can argue it two ways, can't you? You can
yeah.
argue that she's complicit, or you could argue that she was doing you a favour, you just...
But what was the favour, though? That was the thing. When you come away from it, you go, yeah, I've met a movie star, but I met a lot of movie stars at the time, and we went to the premiere, right? So that was kind of the payoff for you. It's like, you may have had this in the afternoon, but in the evening, you're going, along with, 200 other people, maybe, something like that, to a premiere of Days of Thunder, which was, for us, the party. So what JP went through, he was gay. I didn't have to go through with it because he was chosen, not me anyway. So that was that, and that happened a lot. And that's anecdotal. I mean, that's just
it's just how it is. Yeah,
just how it was.
And,
yeah,
I mean,
up in front of people.
I'll be sort of brutally honest with you, and I'll say that that's very interesting what you've told us. We couldn't take that any further forward unless we had a complaint from him.
Yeah.
And so,
But I'm trying to give you the
please do. But what I'm trying to reassure you that we're not going to charge off like balls in a china shop and causing aggro and grief and all the rest of it, because I've been doing this far too long, and there's very little we could do with that unless we had a detailed evidential statement of what went on in that room between those two. Yeah. And there's only him's ever going to be able to give us that. And whether or not he chooses to speak to us or not is entirely a matter for him. So that's
the problem.
A little bit of reassurance that we're not going to start just chasing people. They're not going to go nicking Tom Cruise and accusing him. But that then leads on to the next point, which is these people have been getting away with it for years, and it kind of.
But you laugh when you say Tom Cruise because he's a movie star. Movie stars wouldn't be like that.
No, I'd heard anecdotal stuff around him before, but that's because we just take everybody, so we gossip about everybody. But yeah, I'd heard things about him before. Okay.
But he's suing a magazine $50 million for
the suggestion
that he's not a good father.
Yeah.
$50 million.
Yeah.
Crazy, So, there you go. That's a sign for someone, isn't it? It's, you want to come and sue me? I'm a movie star. Take your chances, right? Another Hollywood movie star, you know...
Sorry, do you mind if I scribe? Because otherwise I'm going to...
Yeah, do you want to record it? Would that be better? Easier?
I could do... no, I can't do, because my phone...
Well, we'll get into my list anyway, and I'll give you that, and then we'll talk each one through.
Yeah, please
if that's going to be
Do you want to
easier.
start with the list?
Yeah.
Because hopscotching will get it all confused. It'll be easier to
Trust me,
work
So
down.
look,
very easy to confuse.
These are the names that I gave to Giles,
Right.
and more, yeah? So I'll talk you through each one, and you can ask me questions and what have you, and do your thing and what have you.
Okay, we'll start the... I'll be... Right, okay.
So should we start at the top and just...
Yeah, please do.
So
Christopher Casanov.
he was a big dynasty star of his day, yeah? So he was very famous for us, you know, he was the Hollywood guy coming to town. We were in Birmingham. We were doing... I was a child, 14,
Right,
13, 14, somewhere there. You've got to understand, I did lots of shows and I was very busy. So for a regular kid who goes to school, has his friends and stuff like that, I did 3 or 4 jobs a week. There'll be 50, 60 people at each job, maybe 20 or 10, but still you're meeting a lot of people, you're doing a lot of work. So when I was doing a theatre show, in 1 year I did 7 theatre shows, just to give you some perspective. You go from one show to the next, to the next, to the next. You're always auditioning and you're always doing something. So when I met Christopher Casanov, he was at the Alex, I think, doing the show, or had just finished doing the show, and we were moving into the Alex. And in the rehearsal rooms, you bump into people and stuff like that, and you all drink at the same pub, right? I say drink at the same pub. I mean, you know, I was 14, but still, that's what you were doing, right? Because you're mixing with adults, right? And really, ever since I was at the RSC when I started. You always got taken to the pub afterwards, you know, and nothing happened, you know, at the RSC. They were extremely good at what they did. Their chaperones were second to none. They took you from the stage to the dressing room, and they never left you alone. They bugged you. I mean, it was awful. But they did their job really well.
What they were supposed to do,
Yeah, but obviously you ended up at the pub a couple of times, as kids do, right? And you're getting past the booze and what have you and all that kind of stuff, right? So, so when I met Christopher Casanov, the shows were exchanging. I think I might have been in 15 Streets, which was a Catherine Cookson show, which should be quite easy to get those dates and stuff like that, possibly. Or I was doing Damn Yankees at the Birmingham Rep, and we were using their rehearsal space. I'm not sure. So I did a lot of shows. So anyway, met Christopher Casanov in the bar. We chatted. We all got on. There was a little group of us from Birmingham who would always do the shows. Would always hang out together. You know, if one of you was in a show, you'd invite the others to the bar to meet the cast and stuff like that. And you know, it's that kind of relationship. So we got very drunk on what most of the occasions we met. We got blasted, really. One night, we were all staying at the Holiday Inn in Birmingham. Even though I lived in Birmingham, even though my family was from Birmingham, they wanted you all in the same place sometimes. So I was staying in the Holiday Inn, which was next to Alpha Tower or somewhere there, near Broad Street.
I've stayed in it, believe it or not.
There you go.
So,
Yeah.
Where is,
So I think it was that one. So and so we were basically staggering back to the hotel room. I came into my hotel room. He followed me straight in behind me, and basically shut the door and started to be very flirty. He was touchy-feely anyway, you know. It was acted touchy-feely, right? But he came in behind me, shut the door, and basically tried to kiss me in a kind of cag-handed kind of I'm drunk way, so I don't really mean it. Kind of way, but he did. I mean, he was massive. He was like 6 foot something as well. I mean, he was really, you know. I'm not big now, you know. I must have been what, 4'11" or something. I mean, it's you know. So he was absolutely terrifying, and that went on for maybe half an hour, you know, of being in that bedroom. I was on the bed at one point. He was on top of me, and we rolled off the bed onto the floor, and you know, and he would laugh and sort of like say, oh no, I'm joking, because he thought I'd hurt myself, you know, and then it'd be like, no, and then it'd be on again. But he kept me in that room for about half an hour, I think, until my friend Scott came in, and when he came into the room, he punched me in the face, yeah? So I'm on the floor, basically, yeah? And he's basically on top of me, so I'm between his legs, yeah? And he's licking my neck and ear and all that kind of business. And, you know, basically razor rash all over my face, that's all I'm feeling. And the door opens, my friend Scott comes in, where's the party? He gets up and he's pretending we're play fighting and kind of punches me in the face, right? And then he goes, where's the party? Out with Scott, back to someone else's room. And I'm like, I've just been attacked by Christopher Casanov. Do you know what I mean? And Scott just went, you know, let's just carry on. Let's just, you know, it's okay. Nothing actually, you know, that bad happened. And it's like, no, but he kept me in that room for half an hour. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do anything. You know, and he was crying, he was laughing at some points, he was really drunk. But that's what he was like. And you could see that's what that guy was like. So that's basically what happened to him. Then afterwards, it must have been, 2 days later, I may have bumped into him again at the bar, and blanked, nothing. I was not in the crowd anymore.
Not in the crowd, yeah.
No, I was very much out of it. You know, not even eye contact or anything like that. Which is, you know, really much how it went for me. Really.
What's he doing now?
He's dead.
I think he died. Yeah. A couple of years ago, maybe.
The next one's definitely not though. Max Clifford.
I was an unofficial client of Max Clifford, by what I mean is that when you're a child actor, you don't have to pay Max money. Max invites you out. Right. His company puts on events. So, I mean, I don't know how much you know about him or other than what you see on TV, but his company is the PR company that you go to hire. And you hire him and he'll improve your image. He'll give you a profile, right? Depends on how much. I mean, it was, you know, when I was with him, it was 90 grand for 3 months' work. Now it's, you know, actually I don't think he has so it's incredibly expensive. But he would give you a profile. He would make you famous, really. Antonia de Sanchez went to him, right, and she said, "Make me famous," and he got sucking Norman Lamont's toe, you know, put it in the paper. You know,
David Mellor's
was it Mellor? It was David Mellor or whatever it was.
I hate that I remembered that.
Yeah. So
it made me feel quite nauseous.
Yeah, but that was that incident. So that was trying to make her famous, and it backfired because no one really likes someone who does that. And then I think at the time it was a lot of kind of kiss and tells going on and stuff like that. So Max Clifford invites you out to places. You get the phone call in the day, and it will be from someone in the office. Sometimes it was from Max, but most of the times it was from one of the girls in the office who said, "How would you like to go to X amount premiere or Stringfellows or wherever?" But because you're in the business and you're working, they want you in their club. Because, you know, I was on, say, for example, Second Thoughts. I did a couple of episodes of Second Thoughts with Julia Sawala and James Bolam and Linda Bellingham. And then we'd all go off to Stringfellows afterwards. And that'd be all of us, you know, before we went home. So you'd work all day, and then it'd be off to Stringfellows and you'd party all night. And everybody was there, or everybody of the day was there. So you get the East End lot who was there. And I'd done East End, so I knew most of those. Grange Hill lot was there. You know, don't forget, a lot of kids on Grange Hill were like 25. You know, they weren't actually children, you know. So they'd be there anyway. But then a lot of kids were. So I was, 13, 14, and I was invited to Stringfellows. The BBC put me in the car, sent me to Stringfellows. You know, Peter Stringfellow and Max Clifford were getting people, you know, his job is to get people to go to his events, right? So putting me in the room with people and stuff like that is what Max Clifford does. And he sits you down, it's a bit like Scientology, they sit you down in front of the video camera and say, "Tell me the truth about who you are and what have you, because I need to protect you." Right? And that's why I was saying to you earlier, if you can get Max Clifford, he's got evidence of so many people on tape admitting to what they do. Yeah, he admits on YouTube about Alan Clark. Yeah.
Just out of interest, I mean, completely hypothetically, where do you think he'd keep that?
It's probably in his house in Barbados. He had a house. I mean, whether he's got it still, I don't know. There, it'll be in his house somewhere. Now, I think he'd want that pretty close to him. Yeah, because if it was in another country, that would have him getting on a plane or someone getting on a plane to do it. He might be in a jam and go, I need to get hold of that, right? So, you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know him personally. You know, I've been to his house or anything like that, you know. But I'd imagine, look, these guys keep things in safes, yeah? All the editors, Piers Morgan does. That's why Piers Morgan's got a cushy job in America. It's not who you know, it's what you got on people, you know, sadly. And this industry works that way, you know. So, look, if you can get Max Clifford to, look, he wants to tell his story anyway, yeah? He's got he's made all his money, yeah? He hates these people, right, he has to represent, right? He hates them. He's desperate, isn't he, to tell his story. He needs that excuse to say, well, you know, and this might be the perfect opportunity because of what's going on for him to say, the police made me talk, right? Because he's not under any oath, is he? You know, he hasn't taken, PR companies don't take an oath in front of anyone.
Confidentiality.
You know, he may say to his clients, I don't need to, you know, I won't say anything. But if compelled to, you know. So anyway, so Max Clifford basically sent me to Peter Stringfellow's, all the events, Days of Thunder premieres, The River Runs Through It. He put me with Brad Pitt there. You know, good person for you to meet, all that kind of stuff. You know, it's never, you know, go and meet that person because they want to have sex with you. It's they would be good for your career.
Good for you, yeah.
You know, and it's up to you what you do. Yeah. Colin Farrell basically tells a story of when he got picked by his agent, his big CIA agent, I think it was. And he said basically, you know, the guy had two choices. One guy who would give him a blowjob and the guy who wouldn't. Well, Colin Farrell's Colin Farrell. He admits himself that's what he did to get his agent to get into the industry. Yeah? Because this is the currency. Yeah? What they do is they take you and they hope that you're damaged goods in some way. So, for example, I've got an adoption story, right? That was always used to get me to do stuff. They would always bring up my adoption in some way. So, for example, Sylvia would say, you know, go meet this person, Lovey, and what have you, and stuff like that. And, you know, I can't really give an example, it's weird. It was just because they think you haven't had a very good upbringing, or something, that you haven't experienced things. So because you have, you know, you were in care. I was in care for 6 months and I didn't know about it, right, from the first 6 months. But they suddenly think you were in care till, you know, they met you, right? So they wanted to give you a great experience, right? Well, that means them being with these very wealthy people and all that kind of stuff, and then going along with whatever that entails, right? So that was always used. So what they want is these people who are damaged goods in some way, and I was never damaged to my adoption. You know, I've got, you know, various commitment-phobic issues and things like that. But I've been with you for 18 years, so I mean, you know, it's not that bad. I've been married 2 years ago, but that was, you know, I've been that bad. So, so if you've done something wrong, so for example, if you're a shoplifter or something like that, they can use that because they can stop you from going to jail. Say like Winona Ryder, right? She was a shoplifter. And what did she do when she couldn't make a movie? She just reverted back to shoplifting. Except now she's famous, and she's like, right? They just revert back to what they, you know. So you pick these kids up, especially in LA, off the beach and stuff like that. They show them a good time. Nicolas Cage is a procurer. He's related to Francis Ford Coppola, right? He found Johnny Depp, right?
Right. Yeah.
And loads of other kids. And if all you would do is Google Johnny Depp Rent Boy, and he admits it. He said, yeah, there's stuff I had to do early in my career. Right? Well, that happens here in exactly the same way. So there's these people that are looking around for people who are slightly damaged, who like the glamour, and you know, who will do pretty much whatever. You know. Now, it's making me sound homophobic to say I wasn't gay, so therefore, but people weren't sure because I'm slightly camp, right? So I just ended up being flirt really a lot of the time, except for really. You know, we'll talk about more about these sort of people. But I'm just trying to give the atmosphere as well as the obviously, you know, this is what happened. But yeah, you start seeing there's these key individuals that on themselves, you can't really say, oh, you're doing this, that, and t'other. But when you look at actually what they do, like Matt Skifford, he gets young people for free to events. Yeah, I was 14 years old and I was just drinking champagne. You know, I was snorting cocaine. You know, I was doing, you know, that's why people don't come out, because they're embarrassed.
Right.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed. I had to, you know, I did this story, and my mom read that paper, and she was just like, she was in Birmingham, you see.
Right. Yeah.
So my family, who didn't want me to go into acting, who I didn't tell anything to, who worried about me every single night while I was in London, and rightly so,
Yeah.
I was saying, no, everything's fine.
Everything's fine. Yeah.
I actually lived with a drug dealer. Yeah? The family that Sylvia Young put me with, their son was a drug dealer, actor, right? Dealt drugs in all Stringfellows, in Bar Atlantic, China Whites. We were, you know, that's where we frequented. Pretty much in those days. Plus, you know, a few, you know, Camden Palais and stuff like that, and other things, depending on what events were going on and where. But that's where she put me, where I would be safe.
Right. Yeah.
Right, and that was done through my parents. So Sylvia says, "Oh, I've put him with a family. Great. Well, the woman overcharged us massively for the rent for a room, and I had to share with someone else anyway. It's almost like, you know, what we pay here, you know, kind of thing. You know, so you're being ripped off, but you didn't know it.
Yeah.
The son's a drug dealer, and you're getting sucked in to this world, right? Now, I'm not saying that I'm innocent. I'm not at all. I happily marched on. I was
in fairness, mate, you show me a 14-year-old that wouldn't. You know, I was 14, and if I had the opportunity to suck champagne and you know, well, I was trying to sneak into pubs and working out which ones I could get into. If somebody had said, "Come into this one," I'd have probably run them out of the way. You know, we've all been there, and you know, I wouldn't put yourself down for that, because you know. That's what 14-year-olds do.
Well, this is it, and you know, and
that's why you should have grown-ups looking after you.
That's my point. And that's what
Yeah.
Esther Ranson should have been. You know, she invited me, I think, to her house in the New Forest. I'm not sure if it was her house, but it was certainly a party at the New Forest, and it was her party. And she invited me directly, so it wasn't like it was through a friend of a friend of a friend. It was Esther Ranson saying, I was in a few shows that she had come to see me in. I'd done a few Bill Kenwright shows.
Right, yeah.
And I think I was either doing Bobby Davro show down in Southampton, or I'd just finished doing a Bill Kenwright show in Leatherhead. We were on tour, Southamptonish, Leatherheady kind of way. I know there's kind of a big difference between those two places, but sometimes you just can't remember where you were at. Now, because I went to the New Forest, I'm thinking maybe it was the Bobby Davro show I was doing. That to me makes a bit more sense, maybe, being closer. So it's probably the Bobby Davro show I was doing. So that's how we ended up at that party. And again, it was, do you want to come to a party? Yes, I do. Yeah. Everyone starts off very glamorous at the evening. There's what 20 people there, maybe, something like that, if that. But people rotate through the evening. So, you know, and I was always a person who arrived pretty much on time at the beginning of something, but I was always there till way after it had finished, you know. For some reason, I couldn't go home. You know, I wouldn't go home. Yeah. You know, so say for example at that party, there's lots of drugs, lots of alcohol, lots of children, right, and adults. Yeah. There's lots of sex going on, because that's always part and parcel of these things. People get drunk, people have sex, right? And Esther Anderson's there, and not once did she come up to me and say, "Oh, it's time to go home. It's time for this." To me, you're past your bedtime, off you go. No, it wasn't. I was passed out in the garden for half the night anyway. Stagger back in. Then I get the cab home, or back to the digs, wherever I'm staying. You know, it's almost morning. Do you know what I mean? The party has gone on. I mean, she's probably disappeared hours ago. Yeah. But that's what it was like, you know.
I take it Esther didn't do anything specific apart from obviously not look after your welfare by inviting you to a party where there's clearly other things going on that a 14-year-old should be exposed to.
Oh, well, no, I mean, you know, she's you know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
The hypocrisy of it is, yeah.
So that's it. So when she came out and said, "Oh, this is awful about," you know, all she's really worried about is childline. Yeah, her legacy. Well, that's one of those selfish things you could possibly think of. It's just like, you know, don't think of your legacy. Think of the people that this man has.
The hypocrisy of
what's gone on before, isn't it?
And this is the thing,
Yeah.
you get these images of people who, that's how they present themselves to the world on television. It's an illusion. And I keep telling people this and say, look, like somebody, but just know they're a real person at the same time, that you don't know anything that they do.
As you say, there's a screen face, isn't there? And then there's what they really are.
Yeah. And they're completely different. You know, and, you know, there's people out there, you know, and I say, look, you know, these people are like monsters that look very good. You know, and they will, you know, eat you alive, right? But they're not going to be nasty. They're going to be charming. These people are lovely. Do you know what I mean? They invite you into their lives. They will, you know, give you lots of things. You know, I got clothes. You know, they found out very quickly I was a jackets guy. You know, and I had leather jackets. You know, now for me, when I was 15, 14, a £70 leather jacket was like,
It's a big thing, wasn't it?
yeah. It was a real big, especially going back to Birmingham. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And seeing all my mates and stuff like that, you know. It was a big deal. So I was given clothes really a lot of the time. But most people I met, they, you know, what do you like, or can I take you shopping? Yeah, sure. You know. So I'm digressing.
No. It's fascinating. We've got Clifford and Stringford. I take it that's what you've spoken of.
Yeah.
No specific sort of allegations.
No, that was me being there.
Just
They were
that's-
facilitating,
that-
you, obviously with Stringfellows Club, and
That's right. Yeah.
you've been invited.
Because I'm trying to give you that idea of these people that there's the kind of the guys that get you in, and then there's the guys that are kind of, because no one's I say no one's horrible, but obviously they are. But it's the way it's presented to you. And everyone's lovely at the beginning of the evening. It's all glamorous and it's all this and that. And the evening goes on, you see people drifting away. You see the ones that go home early because they're just there for the do.
Right, yeah.
Then you see the ones that are a bit too drunk and they get carted off because no one wants them around anyway. And you end up with that nucleus of people who are like me, who've paced themselves, so I'm good at pacing myself through a party, who are good to be around, who people like to chat to, and you know, will continue for the rest of the evening. So now it's back to the hotel, you know. You know, when I did The Word, and with Terry Christian and Amanda de Cadenet, it's like a Channel 4 program.
Oh, I remember it. Yeah. I remember it.
Yeah.
It's Terry Christian's from
Yeah,
part.
it was kind of edgy.
Yeah.
You know, probably looks quite tame now, but
Yeah, no, probably, in hindsight, it probably is quite sort of normal Friday night TV, but at the time it was quite cutting edge, wasn't
well, I was on The Word, and I was there with Dolph Lundgren, and I think Tony Benn, Nigel Benn, boxer.
Oh, yeah.
And they were doing like some boxing themes. So I was there because I was in a panto, wasn't I? I was 16, 15, 16. And we all went back. We did the show. There was an after-show party at, it wasn't at Channel 4, it was at in the Isle of Dogs. They had some warehouse or something that they had, like Planet 24, I think, was the production company, maybe. Yeah. And this was like a warehouse where it was done in, you know. So we had the after-show party there, and then you have the after-show. Right? So now what you've got is, say like you go to a premiere, most people now want to get the ticket, not to see the film, but to the after-show party. Right? But now, the after-show parties have become so commercialised, people go for 20 minutes, then leave, but it's the next after-show one that you really want to go to, right?
Yeah.
So, so with The Word, we did the after-show party, then we went back to, we were at Dorchester. We were always at the Dorchester Hilton, there's Four Seasons, one of those, you know, the big ones around that area. In Dolph Lundgren's dressing room, maybe there was 15 people had come back with us, you know. There was this girl from maybe Home and Away or Neighbours, one of the Australian soaps, tiny thing. She was 13. She had her parents with her at the studio.
Yeah.
The producer said, "Don't worry, we'll look after her," and she went to the hotel room. Yeah, she was raped in front of everybody by Dolph Lundgren, right? Absolutely certain of that because she was 13 years old and he had sex with her in front of everybody. Yeah, because that's how it happened. You know, well, you have the suite, you have the bedroom doors, and it's happening there, and everyone's just going, well, that's the way it is, you know. But I'm absolutely certain that that's what I was seeing at that time, and it was, and that's a standard thing, you know. That was that's something that sticks in my mind from that particular thing because I saw someone going through what I've been through, definitely, you know. kind of situation. Obviously, it was worse for her.
Can you remember? Can you remember who she was? Was she one of the more famous ones?
I'd recognise the face. I can't. I don't watch those things. I never did. You know. But she was like the girl of the moment. I think she wasn't one with the record. She was too young. She was 13 or 14. She was.
I'll try because quite a few of them. You've got the likes of Isla Fisher that's married to Sacha Baron Cohen now. That started off over there and was.
Yeah, she's ginger-haired girl. Yeah, no, it's not her. Yeah, I don't have actually a place to start because I never saw those shows.
So the problem is we've got to be realistic about. I mean, we've got to be realistic about what we can achieve, and you know, and don't know. I you know, I'm a dad, mate. 13-year-old. I'm sorry. You know, I've got. No, I haven't got one of them. I've got a grumpy 15-year-old at home at the moment, but it's just not right on any level. It's just not right. But again, we've got to be realistic about what we can.
Yeah, I'm just telling you. Yeah.
You know, it's Go on, Mel Smith.
Yeah, Mel Smith gave him drugs. Yeah, coke. Yeah, he was the coke guy at the V when I was there.
Right.
He get it biting. He was on expenses.
Yeah, I think that's kind of sort of borne itself out with him, hasn't it? Because he's a basket case now.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently. John Lumley.
Yeah, Joan Lumley. We were at I was doing a show called Model Millie. She was doing a show at Fab, and where we were rehearsing in East Acton, I think it was East Acton. There was a BBC rehearsal room, and in those rehearsal rooms, we were doing our show, and the next door they were doing our Fab shows.
Yeah.
And I think what you did was record it on a Wednesday or Thursday, and you rehearsed the Monday, Tuesday. It was something like that at the BBC. Rehearse in East Acton, and then you go and film it in the studio. We had a party. Our Fab had a party, but it wasn't. I keep saying party, but I'm using the term very loosely because it was almost like you have an office do where everyone's working, and then gradually the booze will come out, and everyone will start drinking, and it turns into a party. You know, when I've said, "Oh, this is the Fab party," they said, "Oh, well, there wasn't an official Fab party." Well, no, this is not a tickets event.
Yeah.
This is just people working in the same building, and I got to know them very well. During my time, Joan Collins was there that day, so they brought out the fruit, because I don't know, she ordered something, right? In her rider, they said it must have big fruit platter. I don't think she ever touched it. Just they just want to see it there. I mean, that's a lot of this is about power and control. So they want things to happen. So she was there. She gave me a ride around the block in her silver Mercedes. Which I thought was completely glamorous because I looked over and there was Joan Collins in her headscarf and the glasses, exactly the way she was older, but how I imagined to see her kind of thing. So I was blown away by her and stuff like that. And so Joan Lumley, so we got drunk and we all got drunk. And the drunker we went back to her dressing room, which was across the corridor, and just did a lot of cocaine to the point where she's flashing his boobs. She's rocking under the the dressing room, and where you put your legs underneath the shelf, where usually you've got the hair dryer and what have you. She's rocking and crying and laughing and being hysterical, and then back to more coke and me and her did that. That's what she did, come into my dressing room. And I had that a lot. It was come with me, young man, kind of thing. So, so again, that's what she was. That's what she did. And when I told that to the Times guy, he flips out. He went, "John Lumley," and I went, "Well, hold on. This is an anecdotal story, really. I'm telling you, like you guys, right?" And he was like, "No. She's Murdoch's babe now. She's the Murdoch is the he's got her in a 20th Century Fox movie.
Scorsese's latest movie.
Yeah, he's billing her as the new statesman. Like he called her like the next Richard Attenborough or something.
Yeah, it was all off the back of the stuff she did for the Gurkhas, wasn't it?
Right, yeah. Which is all very planning the narrative of Joanna Lumley's statesmanship. What they don't want to know is that she was in the dressing room with me, giving me cocaine, and I'm snorting it up. That's the last thing.
She's part of the Sky Christmas schedule, if there's any irony in that, being it was the Jimmy Savile Christmas scheduling that caused the problem last time, because the Christmas schedule is everything. Because she's in that, and I read something that Sky believed that she will bring to Sky the statesman-like qualities like David Attenborough, because they believe that people see her in the same light as a David Attenborough, a statesman.
So he flips out at that piece of information. That's just, you know, and you know, and
she did research because she did pornos before she got famous. So
that's all been wiped away now with the girl.
That doesn't exist.
Yeah,
but
that's
it does.
Yeah, but it does. That's because. But the thing is, by the time the PR machine's finished with you, you make them look like they're, you know, wonders of the world, and you know. So so that's what happened with Joanna Lumley and stuff like that, and that went on. You know, I mean, you know, those parties and those gatherings. I shouldn't call it a party. I should call it gathering, I suppose. Happened all the time, every day, and stuff like that.
Bruce Forsyth.
Always with young girls. Always. Yeah, I was young, don't forget. So when I saw someone who looked young, they were young. You know, I don't know how old they were, but you know, I was 15. And
I'll be honest with you, mate. At the age of 15, you're going to have a better idea of judging age than I am now, because I'm lost between about 14 and 18. You know, but when you're that age, you know damn well how old somebody is. So if you're saying that when you're 15, you're
and I saw them as being young.
Yeah. So,
and there was lots of those, and you know, he was doing a generation game. I think at the time, so you know, I was there a lot. I mean, our filming, see, because of the way that the that television centre worked at the time, I think you had 8 studios, so it's 8 things, and all recording days happened on the same days. So BBC was jumping on recording days, so you had lots of different people doing lots of different shows, and all the backstage area fed into one dressing rooms, one lot of dressing rooms. I think you had upstairs dressing rooms for the big stars, and then the big stars were the guests always. And then downstairs, you went down one flight of stairs, and another set of dressing rooms, they were for BBC staff. Like if you were doing a series, like an actor or someone, Jimmy Savile's dressing room was down there, Bruce Forsyth's dressing room was down there. So you had to kind of go down, you know, into one level, you know, and then, you know, whoever performers or whatever would have to, because they'd be nearest the studio entrance and stuff like that. So yeah. Okay.
Andrew Lloyd Webber?
Yeah, stuck his tongue down my throat and attacked me. He's really useful group in the office. He had basically, for a year, maybe more, was promising me a part in Starlight Express, right? And by the time that he attacked me, I'd known him for about a year and a half, maybe longer. Yeah. And what I mean is, right, I'd gone to auditions, passed the auditions, gone through the casting director process, then you got to meet Andrew, and then you get auditioned by him, which basically means a pianist sitting there playing the piano, you singing your song, then it's the chat, and then it's kind of get to know you, right? And that just went on. Now, I was used to going for like 5 or 6 auditions, right? Yeah. And you get the job, or you wouldn't get the job. And if they didn't get the job at that point, they'd explain to you why. Yeah. Well, it was a choice between you and another guy, and we just picked the other guy. Okay, fine, I get that, right? But when it goes on and on and on, and it goes from being... I was always the last guy as well he saw on the day. So it'd be the last guy I saw, and then it'd be like, come up to the office and let's have a drink. Okay, let's have a drink. And that happened quite a few times, and nothing happened, right? And I was just like, I'm getting to know Andrew Lloyd Webber. So I got on the phone to my mum saying, I'm getting to know Andrew Lloyd Webber now, right? He took me up to Buxton, to the Buxton Opera Festival, where he was giving some masterclass. And he took me as one of, I think it was a girl and a guy, probably 3 or 4 of us maybe, took us up to Buxton and showed us off as these are the sort of the new generation of my singers kind of thing. So he made you feel very special, you know, and stuff like that. So when I think I had a singing audition again, heard me sing, went back, because my voice broke when I was age 13 and it broke overnight. I was like high tenor one day, and then I was, you know, rather soprano, and then I was a tenor the next. It was really bizarre, you know. I came down and went, right, Mum, and she went, I was like, oh my God, what's happened? I went to choir practice that night, and they just went, I think your career as choir boy's over, you know, because it had been, because I'd been doing shows as well. Yeah. So I sang very well, and I sounded a lot older than I was. So I was used for a lot of recordings, you know, so like cast recordings of musicals. You know, you don't get the official one, you get the cheap version. Well, I'm the guy with the cheap version, right? Unless I was in the show, which obviously So yeah, I was always used because I had was doing voiceovers, as an adult when I was like 15, because I sounded, at that time I had a deeper voice. So I was doing a lot of singing. I had gone to a singing audition, then had gone up to the office, and we would sit down and we were drinking, and I think we were drinking champagne, or it was deemed to be champagne anyway. He sat next to me on the sofa. It was like you sort of walk into the office. I think they had a piano there, a grand piano, but he didn't play it, and that's not where you auditioned. And then you had sort of he had a desk on this side, and then he had like a sofa set, corner sofa set maybe, something like that. If I remember, or maybe flat against the wall. I can't remember if it came out. Anyway, something like that. That was roughly the setup. And I was sitting on the sofa. He sat next to me, and he started putting his hand on my thigh, which is what I call kind of the actuary lovey kind of thing, the over familiarity that you have to put up with, on a daily basis. And he basically put his hand around the back of me like that and leaned over, grabbed my face, and basically kissed me, full on with his tongue down my throat, and grabbing my genitals with his hand. And then now I'm on the side. Like that, and it lasted for, I don't know, a few seconds. That was it. I came up shocked. I had a couple more drinks. We chatted, pleasantries. Again, nothing was really mentioned. It wasn't, "Are you okay?" It's like, "Do you want another drink?" "Yeah, I'll get you another drink."
I suppose if you haven't sort of reciprocated it when he's grabbed you, then it's going to be going to be that sort of awkward. "Do you want another drink?" And
it didn't seem odd to me. It was just, that's what happened.
Right, yeah.
Yeah? And then, basically, I was put in Sal Express. And that's how I got that show. So it was over a year of auditions and meetings and used to meet up in Shepherd's Bush Gate, is it? Shepherd's Bush Gate? Is there a place called Shepherd's Bush Gate? Maybe it was the Gate Pub or something. There was a little restaurant. There was something called Shepherd's Bush Gate or something that was like a restaurant or a pub or something like that. It would be a gastropub now or something now, but then there was no such thing. But we had lunch a lot in that place.
When were you in Starlight Express then?
Huh?
When were you in Starlight Express?
Oh God. Well, I was 15, 16 going into it. Yeah. So he saw me when I was 15, because I went to boxing when I was 15.
So what age would that be? What year would that be roughly?
90...
Hang on, easy way to work it out. You were 15, 74, 84, 89, 90? 89...
90, yeah.
90.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, because one of my first memories of when I came to London was I used to watch the cast used to go down to Trafalgar Square and practice at the bottom of Trafalgar Square. And one of the first sort of memories of me coming to London as a sort of naive northerner coming down to join the police was going down there and watching the cast practice.
Yeah. So it was at the Apollo Theatre.
Yeah,
and I broke my leg doing it. I was Rocky 1, so it was a small part, but and as you come down one of the big chutes, a guy called Marco, he's an Italian guy, kicked my skate, which happened a lot, people, because you're holding on to everybody, and what you didn't want to do was move your skate forward, because if you hit someone else, that's it, because their momentum's going that way, well, you fly up, and I flew up and went over, there's a plastic barrier, my leg went over the plastic barrier and I broke it, and this woman in the audience was like, and I still had to get off, because no one could come and get you, it's in the middle of the audience, so you have to kind of realise what's happened, get yourself, and obviously you've got adrenaline and stuff like that, so off I skated on one foot, got off stage, and obviously, so that was...
You burst into tears as soon as you're off stage, I know I would.
Yeah, and also, you're out of a job.
Yeah.
In those West End shows, I did a lot of them, you're out of a job pretty quick, so it's desperate, just be in things, so when some pervy guy sticks his tongue down your throat, you go, not again, okay, there was never any question of complaining. Who would I complain to? I complained to my agent, who was Sylvia Young at the time.